Today is Friday, April 9th, and the verse of the day is from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love.
We are building some more raised beds today. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me for this video today and welcome to my channel. My name is Leanne and I'm working on the garden today. We are in the process of putting 3 more raised beds in the garden, making the grand total for this season to be 8 raised beds. Those 3 will still need to be filled, and I have a plan to fill them in a different way that I filled the rest. So that manure that I was getting, the composted manure, is no longer free for me anymore. So I thought, I was thinking back to when I did the pH test of my native soil, and it's got a really good pH, but it's just really heavy with clay. So I bought an extra bag of peat moss and some worm castings, blood meal, and some, hi, he's over here. He's fine. I bought an extra bag of peat moss. I've got some blood meal, worm castings, and an organic all-purpose fertilizer that I'm going to mix in with the native soil to amend it, make it a little looser and easier for the roots to get into. And I'm hoping that that will do well for me. There's a lot of areas in our yard that need to be leveled out, so I'm just gonna basically level those areas out and use the dirt from that to fill those raised beds and hope for the best. Hey guys, it's a couple of days after I recorded the first few clips for this video. I'm working on finishing up these beds that I started then. I've got this one that I'm working on right now. We've had half of it built for forever, and I'm repairing that half because it got broken, and I'm building the other half, and then I need to put supports in the other 2 that I was working on the other day. I am trying something different with this raised bed that I'm putting in these next 3 actually. I am digging the dirt away about 2 inches down and making the ground really level. I sort of did that with some of these, but not all of them. So from now on, I'm going to put them in this way. I'm going to dig the dirt away 2 inches, level it out, put the bed in, and then I am mixing this native soil with peat moss, worm castings, blood meal, and some organic all-purpose fertilizer that I have. I'll bring you guys along as I do all of that, but right now I'm working on digging this away. You got it. And Jack's practicing his cordless drill skills. This guy woke up. I heard him in the baby monitor while we were working on building those raised beds. I'm so close to being done. I just need to carry the rest of the pieces over to the garden and assemble them. I've learned my lesson to not assemble them before they're in the garden because it's way too heavy to move, at least by myself. So I'm moving it piece by piece over there, which is not gonna take long. I already have 1 wall over there. I need to bring the other wall over, the ends, and then pull it all together. And we'll be done. And we'll start filling it up. Yeah. Alrighty, I got the boys down for their naps. We've settled into a pretty nice routine where the afternoon nap that Jesse takes is at the same time that Jack takes his 1 nap. So that's really nice. And that is when I try to do the things that I can't really do or should probably not try to do while they're awake. Before we go back outside, I wanted to show you guys something that I found that I think is really cool. If you are looking for some garden gloves, I found I have two pairs actually. The other pair is in the garage and it's just a purple pair of garden gloves. But these garden gloves I found from I think the company's called the North Carolina Glove Company or something like that. These are really sturdy and they were under $2. It did cost like $7 for shipping, but still made in the USA, in the state that I'm in. Nice tough gloves for gardening. I just wore through my green pair that I've had over a year now, and I could still use them, but they have a hole in them. So I just got two new pairs. I'm testing them out. I'll link the company in my description if you guys are interested in checking them out. Super cool. Look who came to help. It's Tuesday, April 7th, and right now I'm working on filling up my raised beds that I just built. So we have 3 additions to the garden. We finished building them yesterday. Ben helped me assemble them the rest of the way. Okay, I just finished this step. I had 3 logs that I thought were small enough. The rest of the logs that I have are a little too big. I feel like they'd take up too much space. If I can split them in half later today, then I might use them to fill up the other 2. But I got 3 logs that are nice and small, and then some sticks to fit in between the logs. And then on top of that, I put about a full wheelbarrow load of my unfinished compost. It is mostly straw, but it has some chicken manure in it and some kitchen scraps also. It takes up like maybe a third or maybe even as little as a quarter of the depth of the bed. Especially by the time the rest of it's in there, it'll pack it down to probably take up about a quarter of the space. The next step is I'm gonna go get some of the blood meal and I'm gonna sprinkle it on top of here. Someone commented on one of my other videos that I put of me filling up my raised beds, and they said that blood meal will help things break down faster. So I'm gonna sprinkle some blood meal on this. And then I'm gonna start mixing up the dirt with the fertilizers and the worm castings and all that good stuff. Got the star green blood meal. So 14, that number is supposed to represent nitrogen. This is dried cow's blood, I believe. It's kind of interesting if you are vegan or a vegetarian and a gardener, you have to be careful about what fertilizers you use too, because they could have bone meal or blood meal in them. And if you don't want to use any sort of animal products, then yeah. So far, these gloves have been really great. I don't have this one on my other hand because I cannot start the camera as easily with them on. We just finished filling up this bed. I'm actually working on mixing the peat moss and the native soil with it. And then that one will be ready. I might give it a little bit more worm casting. So what I've been doing is after I filled it with the logs and the unfinished compost, I started trying to mix the peat moss and the native soil in the wheelbarrow, but that was not very efficient. So instead, I just was putting a thin layer of the native soil, a sprinkling of worm castings, then peat moss, mixing it together and doing that over and over and over until I get to this point. So once I put the last little sprinkling of worm castings, and then I'm going to mix the fertilizer in the top. And I think I'm going to cover it with cardboard. Since I use the native soil, there'll be a lot of seeds in it, most likely. And I don't want a bunch of weeds growing up before I even have a chance to plant anything in there. Dude woke up just in time to help me put the fertilizer in this bed. Dr. Earth Fertilizer says to use 3/4 of a cup for a 10 square foot bed. My beds are 2 feet by 8 feet, so that's 16 square feet. and they're 1 foot deep. So I'm gonna put a whole cup in this bed instead of 3/4 cup. Maybe just shy of a whole cup. The last steps for that bed is going to be watering it in and then covering it with cardboard. The cardboard is just gonna act as a weed barrier until I am ready to plant in it. And then I think I might even leave it there and just cut holes in it for my plants to go in. I think somebody is hungry. I'm actually going to wait a little while before I water it in because it's really sunny right now and kind of warm. So the water's just gonna evaporate off of it. I'm gonna wait until later today. The irrigation is supposed to go off later anyways. So I'll just water it then, and then at some point this week, I'll get the irrigation set up in that bed also. It's a lot of work. I'm gonna try to tackle filling one bed at a time just because if it kind of takes a while. It took like his whole first nap time to do that. And so that the rest of my house and yard is not chaotic and in a mess, I'm only gonna do one bed at a time instead of trying to fill them all at once. It's a balance, isn't it, Jessie? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you need a friend to learn how to garden with, I'm your girl. Happy gardening.